Hi, this is Kent Lee and I teach computer science at Luther College. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the accumulator pattern with lists. The accumulator pattern allows us to add up things or keep a running total of things. In this video I'm going to show you how to enter the words of a sentence and tell the user what the average length of their words were and how many words they entered in that sentence. To do that, I'm going to first of all demonstrate how to get the words of a sentence, since we're going to have to do something like that. And I want to show you in the shell here that you can go ahead and ask the user to enter a string. I think we know how to get a string from the user using input. I'm going to go ahead and just type in a string here for purposes of demonstration. Let's say we've got "How are you doing today? This is a fine day for a bicycle ride." Okay, so if I've got this string S and I look at S here, I've got S laid out there as a string. If I want to get the words of that string, I can do something called splitting the string. So if I do an s.split on this string and just call it, I get a list here. Notice the square brackets on either end. I get a list of each of the words that are within that string. Each word is a string itself, so I get a list of strings from calling split on a string, which are the words of that string. Well, once I have a list, I can iterate over that list, it turns out. So I can use a for loop to go through that list. So I'm going to use that in my program here. I'm going to go ahead and ask the user to enter a string, s equals input. Please enter a sentence. And I'll put a space there. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a list. So lst equals s.split to split that list. And I'm going to go ahead and iterate through it. Now, what I would like to do is find the average length of words within this sentence that I've got that I asked the user to enter. And to do that, I need to use the accumulator pattern to find out some things. So if I'm going to find the average length of the words, I'm going to need to know the number of words that are in the sentence, and I'm going to need to know the total number of characters for the words in the sentence as well, not including spaces. You notice there are no spaces that are left in the sentence below. So I'm going to go ahead and compute those two things. I want a count of the number of words, and in the accumulator pattern I go ahead and I set my accumulator to 0 or to some value, probably to the identity of whatever operation I want to do. In this case I'm doing addition, so my identity is going to be 0. So this is to initialize our accumulators in this case. Initialize our accumulators. We're going to have two accumulators in this example. And then we want to know what is the total word lengths that we've got. So our word lengths is going to start at 0 as well. Alright, so now we're ready to use our for loop. And this is a for loop to go through our list. And in this case, we're going to write for word in that list that we got from doing s.split. For each of the words, we want to add 1 to our count. So we're going to say count equals count plus 1. So this for word in list, we're going to do it once, the body of this loop, once for every word in the list. And word here is that next word that is in the list. So for our word lengths, we're going to want to go ahead and set word lengths equal to the old word lengths, whatever that was before. I can type it right there, plus the length of the new word, and we can get that by doing the length of that word. So len of that word will give us the number of characters that are in it. So when we're all done, we have a count of the number of words in our sentence and the lengths of those words. If I want to find the average word length, then after I've finished this whole loop here, I can say average word length is equal to my word lengths that I have divided by my count. And that will give me my average word length for the sentence. And so then I can go ahead and print and display to the user the sentence you entered had, and I'm going to say how many words it had, which is count, words in it, and the average word length was, and then I can do average word length as my answer there. And if I want a period at the end of the sentence, I could put a period at the end of it. If that were the case, then I'd want to probably get the period right at the very end. I'd have to do a string of my average word length, and I'd do a plus, and then I would do a period to put at the end of it there. Okay, so let's give it a shot and see what we could come up with here. So please enter a sentence. How are you doing? Today is a fine day for a bicycle ride. Okay, so I press enter. There were 13 words in it, and the average word length was 3.53, and we can see lots of decimal points there. If I'd like to make this output just a little bit nicer, I could use a format string. A format string would provide the same information, but I could round it. If I wanted to do a format string, I could actually change this just a little bit here. I'll take out the plus, I'll put the period at the end, but I'll do my format string percent, let's say 1.2f, and I'll get 2 decimal places in that case. And then I'd put at the after my format string here, I would put my words that I want to go ahead and print here, which was, I guess, average word length, my average word length that I want to go ahead and print. So you notice the period here at the end, that's the period at the end of the sentence. This is my format string right here, percent 1.2f, and here's the thing that I want to substitute in for the percent 1.2f, so that comes after the percent sign in this case. So let's run this one more time and just give it a shot and see what I come up with. How are you doing? Today is a fine day for a bicycle ride. And I get 13 words with an average word length of 3.54 and the period at the end of the sentence there. So I've shown you in this video how to use the accumulator pattern with a list. You initialize your accumulators before the loop and then within the loop, so you go through the list, and then within the loop you go ahead and increment your accumulators by whatever they need to be incremented by. And in this case, we've got 2 accumulators that we're working with, so we're going to increment both accumulators. So hopefully that makes it clear what the accumulator pattern is all about and how it works with lists. This is a pattern that we use over and over again in programming, and you should become very familiar with it.